Well, I was disappointed because they didn't turn cannibal. You should.
I like my mind sometimes. I like when it's behaving. There are times that my mind is my own demon.
I'm going to go on a limb and say they don't want to read Gone with the Wind. So you're just giving them toilet tissue. Okay, so...
Really?
Yeah, like
Please continue.
the
Very naughty books.
the naughty books, and I would find a chair and I would find like a private part of the library.
Well, there's something very romantic, first of all.
I agree.
About finding or discovering something.
Explains a lot about about where we are in humanity right now. It's very, 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 very interesting. It's very complicated. It's very straightforward, and it's kind of shocking at times, really.
Thank you for listening to the Last Will podcast. I'm Matt Young. I'm a theater educator and a parent. And ever since I lost my father to cancer, I have been mildly obsessed with death. This is my last will and testament. Marcia Norman once said, "Dreams are illustrations from the book your soul is writing about you." That's right. Today we're talking about dreams. And if that wasn't enough, we are joined by special guest Alex Clapp, host of the ATD Accidental Trainer, which is available wherever podcasts are found. Okay, let's dream.
There's a countdown.
Look at that.
Wow.
This is our first remote recording. How
Yay.
cool is that? Technology.
Wow. Oh,
Welcome to the Last Will podcast. I'm your host, Matt Young. Here with me is Claire Kenny.
Hi.
And we have a special guest.
Hello.
We have a special guest.
Thank you.
We're joined by Alexandria Clapp, otherwise known as Alex. Alex, I've known since she was, I think, a sophomore in high school. And I think, and I'm going to own this, I think I introduced you to performing Shakespeare. I think so. No? Did you do a play before Much Ado About Nothing?
I don't think so.
I think I'm going to take that. I'm going to own that.
wow. Good job, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you. And it wasn't till after you graduated from high school where we worked on a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream that I was like, oh, this girl kicks ass. Like she's legit and she works as hard as everybody else. So in honor of that production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, I figured today would be a great time to have a discussion about dreams.
Da, da, da.
Yay. I was
And-
wondering why you chose the topic of dreams.
Well, the last Shakespeare I did with Claire, we did A Midsummer Night's Dream. And then when I was thinking about a topic, it just made the most sense. And here's another thing too. Hopefully this won't make you too uncomfortable. When I saw you play Rosalind in As You Like It, the year after we did A Midsummer Night's Dream, I watched you perform that, and there's something about the way you perform. There's like a romanticism, a magical romanticism that you pull off that made me think like, oh, I can actually do Arcadia. If I have Alex, I can actually do Arcadia. And Arcadia by Tom Stoppard was a dream of mine, but I felt like it was too complicated. I felt like it was going to be too hard to find the right Thomasina who has that like magical romanticism, but also like the intelligence to get away with us believing that she understood the math. And it was after that production that I was like, oh, we can do that. So in that way, you kind of made my dreams come true.
Oh,
So-
Wow.
I love
all of that works.
That's such a great story.
That is.
Yeah.
It's kind of LOL too that I convinced you like, oh, she can pull off math. That's very impressive.
Well, you have a very like this isn't going to sound right, but like a casual intelligence to you on stage where we totally believe it. Whereas some of our other friends, they just like there's an intelligence, but there's like an arrogance to it.
I definitely
Um,
don't have that.
No, neither do I. I'm great at simple characters. But yeah, you absolutely pulled it off. And then it was hard to do productions without you in it, you know? Lunasa, we did a 12th night. Yeah, it was definitely, Alex became a staple of all the work that we were doing. And I think it was really great work at the time. So
And
I
then
miss
she
Welcome.
doing
moved
theater
away.
with you guys. I am always having FOMO. I mean, I love my life here in DC, but I want to let's do and Zoom production next. And
Right.
yeah,
Well, if this works out, then that's exactly what we're going to be doing.
perfect.
Exactly. You are very missed over here too.
Yeah.
So Claire, how do we usually start?
So we usually start with the AI definition of whatever the topic is.
All right. So let's go with.
I was thinking
What-
of that. You guys do that. Wait. But
Yep.
what if we made our own definition?
All right.
Okay.
Do you have something off the top of your head?
No, but I
Oh,
thought
okay.
we would make it together.
Okay. Well, I can start. If we're talking about the dreams that we have when we're sleeping,
Let's do that. Let's start there.
so dreams are the oh my gosh. Okay. Trying to find the right
Yes.
vocabulary here.
Hard.
Dreams are the things that our subconscious comes up with when our minds are in a restful place, although they are, oh God, I lost it already. I don't know how
No.
to
You're doing
continue.
great.
Somebody-
Well, I was wondering if you guys were going to add a component. Like, we all do theater, and a lot of a dream, like psychologists or people who study dreams, they steal some of that language to make sense of like describing it. It's like a play or theater that's happening inside our head, or it's like virtual reality or a simulation that happens.
Well, I was going to say very simply, like it's the movies that go on in our head during the night when we're in our sleep.
Okay, you guys definitely. This is. I'm glad that we got Alex on board for this one, because for me it was like way too technical. Because I think that, because sometimes the dreams that I have, I'm just like, where did that come from? Like, what part of my? Because I think it is pulled from the subconscious. Like, I mean, there are a couple of dreams that I have that are a little prophetic. Like I'll dream about somebody and then I'll see them the next day. Very
Right.
strange. And I,
Is it someone you see every day because you work
No.
with them?
it's usually sometimes, I mean, this is going to sound weird, but it's sometimes like a customer in my store. Sometimes I'll have a dream that they came in and then the next day they'll come in and I can't tell them. I can't be like, oh, you were in my dream last night. I never say that. I always say, oh, I dreamed that this happened. I mean, I can't tell people that because that would be so strange, but
You definitely come in. I've seen you a couple times when you've had very vivid's probably not the right word, but like stimulating
yeah,
dreams.
dreams can bother me because sometimes
yeah.
they, and especially in the last few years for me, sometimes they've stayed with me throughout the day and it kind of affects me. Like my resting mind, I'll think like, I'll kind of go back to that place that I
Right.
had in my dream. And I'm like, why am I back there? Like, why?
Hmm.
It's a feeling. I have very intense feelings.
Do you think you're ruminating over something, or you're?
It's difficult to say because the dream could be about the yard at my grandmother's house. And then I don't really know what that means. Or one time I had a dream.
Oh, it's because you're looking for symbolism. You're trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, because I'm like, why am I
Ah.
still? I mean, I have frequent dreams about my grandmother's house down the street from me, from where I currently live, and it's there. I mean, I have lots of recurrent dreams too, which bothers me because I just want those to stop. I kind of want some new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just keep going to the same movie. Do you think there's so many different ways to go, but I guess the first trail I want to go down is do you think dreams are a direct result of working through something that you're struggling with during the day, during life? Do you think they're that kind of symbolic or more random than not?
I think it depends.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
I think no, in a lot of ways, that it's very random, that your body and your brain is at work when you're sleeping. That's cleaning house, it's taking care of memory, it's like doing cleaning and
Right.
work to take care of your body, it's getting rid of toxins, it's doing that in ways that dreams are just I think side effect of that process.
Almost like a distraction from the cleaning cycle that you may be doing.
I think there's just a random, a lot of it is random, and then we
Yeah.
try to make sense of it. But I don't think that that's always the case, because I think there's a bunch of different types of dreams. So people who have, there's a dream. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead. If you were going to want to talk about this later,
go.
A very popular dream that a lot of people have is their teeth falling out.
Yes.
And
yes.
My husband is also named Matt. So my husband, Matt, and I have talked about that, do you think it's because people are grinding their teeth, or because it's supposed to mean something symbolic? People have done, like psychologists have done questionnaires to see, are there commonalities between people who are dreaming about their teeth falling out versus people who do not? Like, what's happening in their lives? Are they stressed out? Are they anxious?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why sometimes that is seen as perhaps like maybe it means that those people are stressed. Like maybe there's tension in their mouth, like, I don't know, some certain like recurring dreams. Maybe there is your body and brain and mind is trying to like work through something.
It's so
I don't think anyone knows.
Recurrent dreams can be like that for all humans, and there is, like, if you put into Google like dreaming about otters, or dreaming about losing your teeth, like you will find that it's a common thing, that there are so many reasons why you dream about something. And I have to say, I've never had a dream about losing my teeth, although maybe tonight I will, because we just talked about it.
Well, maybe. I have them all the time. All the time. Yeah. Wow. That, and the other recurring dream that I have is that I'm driving in the neighborhood that I grew up in, and I don't remember how to drive, or I don't have control over the car. That has been constant. Those two have been constant throughout my life. So, like, I guess what we're saying too is, like, dream analysis is fun. There's a reason you can find it, but maybe it's just random in your brain. And so meaning only means something. Awful sentence. You can get meaning out of it if, like, you choose to just kind of dive into the metaphor of life and maybe use it to your advantage. But there's no greater meaning from the subconscious to the conscious is what I think we're saying. I've
had no relief from finding out that my dreams mean something. I dream a lot about traveling, about being at airports, being on trains, specifically the process of getting a train ticket and hopping on a train, being on the train. And one time they served pizza at the subway station. Like, it was, but I don't, and one would say, if you're constantly dreaming about travel, airports specifically, train stations specifically, it means something. But if I get a dream analysis, that doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't make me think like, oh, I have to work on something. It's almost like,
I always have to work on something. So
I know. So, yeah, exactly. We always have something to work on, or like, oh, this is what's going on in your life. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, oh, it just means that you're stressed or you're going through a journey. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's just true. I think I want to know. I'm not too sure, but one thing I do, something that somebody brought up to me that I do like is that when people who have passed away, or animals, if they visit you in your dreams, and they're sending you a message. And I like that. I mean, that's beyond our subject today, I guess. But,
well, not really.
I guess ever since when Alex, you and I had a mutual friend pass away several years ago, and I remember just waiting. I was like, okay, I'm ready for the dream. Like, I'm ready for the dream where I get to see her and I'm going to listen to what she says, because I wanted to see her and I wanted to hear her. And I actually had a dream about her the other night, and it was a very peaceful dream. And she was she was there and she was smiling and she was happy, and it made me feel happy in the dream. And when I woke up, I was like, oh, that was nice. That's, to me, I think sometimes that is a message from the spirit world. But I mean, that's like the opposite of what I'm saying in terms of like, I don't think dream analysis is, I think it's stupid. And then being like, but I want to hear the messages from the other world.
It's sort of your own way of saying what Matt was saying, where it's, you create the meaning that you want out of it. And something that you were saying, Matt, it's almost like, I think that's kind of an example of what you get, what you put into life as well. Like some people think that there's like spiritual, like some people would say we're here randomly, like we're here on this planet Earth and just happen to be alive randomly. And someone else like, hell no, that's not right. I don't know if we're allowed to swear on this.
You are. I drop the F-bomb all the time.
Okay.
So hell is definitely, you can say that for sure. No, but I think you're right. There's something about, you can come out of a dream and make an association that is helpful to you in your life, but that there's probably not, your subconscious isn't doing that. It's like your conscious mind is saying, I want to make this association because perhaps it's shedding light on something that I haven't thought about, or changing my perspective on something that I haven't thought about. And that can be very, very powerful. I know that, I believe when I was married, there were times that I woke up where I was in trouble because my ex-wife had a dream where we had a fight, and that lasted all day. Like she was mad at me. I know on the other hand, I have fallen in love in dreams so many times and have a totally new, it's so hard to let go of that feeling of joy or connection, that it has changed my perception of people in real life. So I've had an experience in life that felt so real, so moving, that it definitely made me see people in a totally different light. And then again, I've been in trouble because I did something wrong in somebody else's dream.
I had a really crazy experience a dream experience when I was dating somebody a long time ago, and we had exchanged the I love yous. And that night I had a dream that I was talking to my best friend, and he said to me, why did you lie to him? And I woke up and I was like, oh no, am I not in love with him like I said I was, like I thought I was? And it's spooked me because I'm like, ugh. And ever since then, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I really mean it when I say it, because I don't want to have dreams that are going to haunt me like that.
Well, yeah.
Because I don't, I don't want to have that. Sometimes, my dreams come through as, I'll do something. And especially with romance, for me, it's so deep for me in my waking life. And then if I have a dream about, if I'm dating somebody and then I have a dream that I'm dating somebody else, it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, like, whoops, I cheated on you in my dream, but like, I don't, you weren't there. So it doesn't count. It's very bizarre.
And sometimes they say that people represent other people in dreams.
Yeah.
So maybe that other person represented the person that you were actually dating. So did you cheat or did you not? You just don't know.
They'll never know. I'm never going to tell them.
Right. But that idea though, that idea of, why did you lie to him? And then you wake up with that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Come on. That seems like evidence that maybe
I know
your subconscious is telling you something.
But nobody... it's not like I ran to my therapist and I was like, I dreamt this. Is it true? What really matters is how you take your life, how you act in your life when you're awake. Because you can't really prove your dreams to anyone. You can't.
Exactly. It's so subjective.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard to study them and like come to consensus. What if there's a purpose and why we dream in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I'm maybe there is a scientific reason why our brains do that, but I guess I'm more interested, Claire, in when you woke up, did you find truth in it? Like, when you thought about it after waking up, go, did I actually lie? Did you really love him?
We had a good relationship. I mean, for a time, and then So I always had that weird little doubt in my mind, but because the love that I had for him was different than love I've experienced with somebody else.
Okay.
And I just would say it was different because I wanted to be with him, and we were happy together. And I didn't see that dream as like a warning. I mean, ultimately it didn't work out between us. And, you know, obviously for me it was for the better, but it kind of, I think about it a little bit. I try not to dwell on it because
Right.
I don't want my dream my dream embassy to really be in charge all the time, because the feelings that I get from dreams can fade. I would never take a dream and say like, well, this is paramount. You know, my dream
Right.
said this, so it's true.
Dream Claire doesn't rule the roost at
No.
all. No, she's
I
just
could
compassionate.
never take any of my dreams seriously. It is an absolute mess. There's like, it's as if there's no director. It's that even when I try to wake up and I've just had the dream and I'm trying to explain it to my husband before I immediately forget all of it. And even just putting my dreams into words is very difficult because people will be like mixed up in my dream. Like I can tell that it's like a mix of 4 different people, but somehow it makes sense in your dream. But then when you start to explain it or write it down, it's completely messy. And then I'll have like 10 different plots. Like I can tell it's like my mind was in 10 different places. And so it feels like scenes that are moving. And then I'm trying to remember, recall, or explain like all of a sudden I was in the house, but then we were at a wedding, and then it's just always very weird and bizarre. And I try to always treat them as such. Like I don't really put any meaning into my dreams because they're an absolute mess.
Well, because it made
So
sense at the time when you woke up. You're like, yeah, we were here, and then we were here, and then I was walking down the stairs, and then I was in a basement, and then I had a magic wand, and then
there's always a lot of social there's other people though. There's things involved. There's something happening. It's not just like me like wandering around and interacting with one. It's just like never makes any sense.
So I guess if you had a more linear dream, maybe you would give it more weight, but because it's a little bit random, the storytelling is odd.
Though
it's
I will
experimental.
say, yeah, when I think, I mean, a part of this, I'm so fascinated with learning and memory, and I spend a lot of my headspace thinking about that for work. And I always use this analogy of like mind maps of how we connect ideas together, how we will strengthen our memories. And I tend to think, I almost think I am, when I'm talking aloud, I'm thinking in a mind map where like I'll start down one sentence and all of a sudden I have 10 ideas pop into my head, and I will be bouncing between ideas as I'm trying. And then someone is listening and they're like, what are you talking about? Like you didn't finish that thought. Like they cannot follow. Where in my mind, it's like, but they're all connected. And so maybe that's also what's happening in my
That's such an interesting
dream.
thing that you bring up, because yeah, I think a lot of us deal with that when we're talking to someone because our minds are taking in we're trying to explain one thought, but there's so much stuff that's happening in our subconscious that we're taking in at the same time. Like while we're talking, we're thinking about what we're saying. We're thinking about how we sound. We're thinking about if we're making sense. We're thinking as we're talking. Right now I'm even thinking about that while my cat's making sounds in the back, and I'm like, oh my God, can they hear that? Is it going to bother them? What's he doing?
How dare your
yes,
cat?
You can
ruin
hear
this.
it. No, it does not bother me.
Yeah,
Love you.
It's interesting though. So, Alex, the way your brain is working these days parallels the way that your dreams are unfolding. If I'm getting that right.
Well, maybe it's just me trying to make sense or make the connections. Like if I know that the way that we hold on to information and learn new information and how it's sort of all connected is in this web type structure, I tend to think as I'm talking and trying to make sense of my ideas, I start to think of it that way and then try to articulate it to other people so that they can better understand me if I start jumping ship in other ideas.
Right.
And so then I think it's also just a way for me to make sense of what maybe is happening with my dreams as well. Right. I think that's the theme for me that I'm seeing. It's just that it's all kind of subjective how we make sense of it.
Well, that's actually, I mean, if I think about what you're describing in terms of how your mind works when you're not sleeping and then apply that to a dream, yes, that is what happens in a dream, because my mind will go into different directions, but I'm not consciously doing that. I mean, there have been times that I will switch a situation in a dream, or because I know that it's a dream and I'm like, oh, I could just do this or go over here or think this or that.
The lucid dream.
Yeah. Or, but then there are times that I'm in a dream and I'm like in a situation and I'm like, this is bad. And I'm like, and this definitely isn't a dream. Is it a dream? I'm checking in with myself and I'm like, no, this is not a dream. This is real. I definitely did not finish this homework assignment and I'm going to fail out of college.
So the thing that came up in my mind when you were saying that, Alex, is like, I am kinesthetic. So everything I do is based upon feel. And my dreams, more than linear storytelling, more than me being able to go, once upon a time, this is what happened in my dream. I'll have moments, but I'll wake up with feeling. Like the feeling is the thing that dominates. So if it's a nightmare, I wake up with that fear and anxiety. And if it's love, I wake up with a little bit of joy. And if it's guilt, so for me, my dreams definitely process the way that I process.
Wow. So
I wonder, for Claire, I guess are your dreams auditory?
Auditory?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Alex, you were saying you think that's probably for everybody.
Yeah, I think there's probably a mix of a lot of the senses. Though I was wondering if what the experience is like for someone who is visually impaired or blind.
Right.
Do they just dream in dialogue? I mean, there's probably the emotion component as well, like a feeling, sense of feeling.
Probably, yeah, kinesthetic and auditory for sure.
So Matt,
yeah.
Because mine aren't very visual.
Are you
yes,
saying
Claire?
that whatever you're feeling in your dreams, you wake up feeling the same thing, no matter what it is?
Yes, if I remember the dream, for sure.
Yeah,
I remember the worst nightmare I ever had, like in later life. I fell asleep to watching Oliver Stone's Nixon movie, and I had a World War II dream where my parents got burned to death in a car, and that was the dream, and it like haunted me for days. That feeling of discovering them, just visually, it wasn't as strong as just the feeling, the horror, the pain, the I want to say disgust, but it wasn't disgust. It was
interesting.
Hollow.
I have dreams sometimes that I am exhausted and that I can't.
And you go to sleep.
I'm sleeping, and in my dream, I'm so tired that I can't keep my eyes open, or I can't see in my dreams because I'm so tired, and I can't. And it's really, and it's in my dream, it's as normal as if I were awake, and I'm like, oh, I definitely, this is bad. Like I need new glasses, or I need eye drops or something. But it's so, in my dream, it's just normal. And then I wake up and I'm like, wow, I was really tired in my dream, but I couldn't satiate the feeling. But some might say like, oh, you must just be exhausted in your waking life. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty okay. My energy levels are fine. Maybe I just am, again, looking into the meaning of it.
Right.
Maybe there are certain parts of my life that do feel exhausting. The worst though, not the worst, but the most annoying dreams I have a lot of dreams about bathrooms and like locker room bathrooms, like bathrooms at like my school. And I have a lot of dreams about being at my old high school and like walking through the corridors, like looking for the next bathroom. But then, that feeling of being like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, that's why I had that dream. But sometimes I don't even have to go to the bathroom. Like when I wake
after
up.
she like chugs a glass of water before she goes to bed. And
yeah. I mean, I'm always
from a dream where she was having to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, but
So you have
the
to go to the
dream just-
bathroom.
it's not like a quick dream where it's like, oh, I gotta go. It's not like my body like is waking me up. It's still like in a REM cycle, a deep
Right.
sleep where it's like, oh, let's check out this bathroom and see what gym class is happening today, and we're gonna go swimming, and then you're gonna like run out of this corridor, and I say corridor because it reminds me of Harry Potter, which is also like kind of how my
Wait, you,
my
you went to
dreams are.
Hogwarts?
I
Which they have nice
I
bathrooms. there,
didn't. I
will
mean,
say.
listen, I could talk about my dreams all fucking day. And even last night, I had a dream about picking what subject I was gonna have, what was gonna be my house. But it was not Hogwarts. It was a different kind of witch school. I mean, the stuff that comes in my headspace just blows my mind.
Well, that's a thing too. Like, I don't remember as much of my dreams. Like, if I wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and then I go back to sleep, I will remember my dreams. But most of the time, I don't remember. And Claire, you like always seem to remember your dreams.
Mhm.
Do you
And
think you
also-
make up a little bit of stuff to like fill in the gaps to make it more like entertaining when you're telling a story? Like if you don't remember, you just sort of like ad lib and say, and then I went to this place and I was talking to this person, because you've sort of like gotten people's attention. I don't know.
No, they're really that vivid, and they're really.
I wonder about that
weird.
with other people just because I don't remember, and I cannot for the life of me like tell a coherent story about what happened in a dream. So when
Right.
other people are able to do that, I'm like,
Suspicious.
are they making a little bit of that up
No.
just to like
If-
fill in a gap?
If I had the time, I could absolutely explain to you what my dream was last night and what were the feelings in the dream. And but the other thing is that, you know, other people's dreams are not as interesting to you. I mean, they're so interesting to me because they're my dreams, and I want people to understand what I saw last night and what I did and what
Oh,
happened.
I could listen to you tell dream stories all day, Claire.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, there's nothing unappealing about hearing you talk about the crazy shit that goes on in your brain while you go to sleep. I think I don't know. I think I'm on the fence. I think that there probably is some sort of subconscious telling us something.
it's just amazing the visions that happen, you know. Yes,
Yeah.
like, you know, there is something to be said about watching something before you go to bed, reading a book before you go to bed, and having that stuff kind of still in your space while you're falling asleep. But sometimes stuff just comes right out of left field, and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Like the war dreams, I've had those too, and I'm like, why am I dreaming
You're
about
in them?
about being. Yeah, I mean, I like to watch a lot of fantasy fiction, so sometimes in my dreams I'm at war, and I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but there was definitely a doom dream about like this. If this happens, if this particular scene from Lord of the Rings happens, we will most likely be at war, and most likely we will die.
Well, somebody's got to protect Helm's Deep.
Yeah,
You know?
this time there was an earthquake and a tidal wave. I don't know. Also
What?
too real.
J.R.R. Tolkien never wrote a tidal wave, did he? No.
No, but Claire did last night.
See, I
That's
still
true.
stick with my original stance, which is it depends. I think there's probably a component of like your body and your brain are doing housekeeping work that helps keep things running, and
Yeah.
how you process information and how you process your emotions. Like then I think that there's a part where it's like maybe it helps you. It kind of makes me think of meditating.
Okay.
And I think I remember learning when I was doing a meditation workshop, but I don't remember the specifics of the study. This guy was talking about how basically your body is just like even more relaxed than if you were to go to sleep. And I feel like meditation is a kind of the practice of like rehearsing things.
Okay.
Were you meditating in this workshop, or were you learning about meditation?
We were
Meditating
Both.
on learning how to meditate.
learning how to meditate and meditating.
Wow.
Yeah. His name was Lauren Roche, and it was in Connecticut at Yoga Patsa in Wilton.
Oh, nice.
I loved that yoga studio, and that that meditation teacher, he is located in California, and I think he has free meditations that you can try out on his website. I feel like this is a tangent or detour away from our topic, but I feel like there's something potentially similar where it's whether how conscious we are of what is happening, like you guys have said, like you're subconsciously kind of making sense. Like Claire, like if there's something like threatening that's happening or stressful that's happening in your life, especially for like dreams that are recurring, like they keep happening, or maybe in your regular life you're ruminating or stressed about something, then that might continue to show up in your dreams. Or someone who has like post-traumatic stress, I think that those like kind of are classified as different types of dreams. I don't know anything about that, but
yeah, I mean, there are times where I think my dreams make sense. You know, I have a recurrent dream about traveling to New Zealand and being in the capital city of Wellington. And I did spend a good amount of time there a few years ago. And I keep having dreams about traveling back there and, you know,
to the Shire.
Yeah. But it's actually about going to see my family who's there. And I get so excited and so happy to go and see them. And then
even though you don't in real life have family there,
I do have family there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm also so excited to go back to my old haunts in Wellington. But the landscape is completely different. It is just not the same.
Is this a daydream or a night dream?
This is a night dream.
Which I don't mean, were you finished, Claire? I don't want to cut you off.
Well, no, I guess my point is that that is something that I think about during the day. I think about, it would be nice to travel back there and go. But I know that it's almost like there's a different feeling in me that I have when I dream those things versus my daytime dream or my daytime thought about going back there. That's like, it's not going to be all happy revisiting nostalgia stuff. It's going to be kind of stressful. You've got jet lag. You've got that really long flight. You've got the weather. You've got your luggage. You've got all that stuff. You know, none of that is going to really happen. You're not going to ever tap back into that happiness that you felt in your dream.
Well, I mean, maybe not immediately, but don't shut it totally out. I mean, it's not going to be all stress if you actually did it.
But there's something, I mean, it's me, the way that I know that my body works. You know, I mean, when I was living there, I was consuming an incredible amount of alcohol on a daily basis. And now I don't do that. So every moment that I have in my waking life, I'm there for, and I'm aware of. And so there's a big difference. I mean, I'm different now.
Which, you know, may open it up and make you see it in a different way. I just don't think it'd ever be just the one stressful thing. But anyways, a couple things that I wanted to bring up. One, that we brought up meditation. I think that's really there are interesting connections to it, where dreams, when we sleep, are passive cleansing moments, right? And yet meditation, while we're awake, we're finding that quiet, and we're doing some self-care in an active way. We're cleaning up our lack of a better term, cleaning up our insides, doing that self work of centering ourselves. So I do think that they're similar. One's passive and one's active.
I think dreams are active. It's just that we're not in control the way that we can be as in control. With meditation.
But I guess I just mean passive in that sense of it's not in our control. Like, we've gone to sleep and we're not manipulating the story unless it's like a lucid dream. But whereas meditation, for me, the biggest fear of meditation is not being able to, is the work, is finding the quiet, is working towards the quiet. So I guess what I was wondering was, did it come easily to you when you first started to meditate, and if it didn't, what was the thing that clicked in for you that helped you to?
So
achieve meditation.
this is why I really like his approach, which is that it feels very accessible, especially if you're new to meditation. It doesn't have to be that you just silence your mind and you create a blank page. If like an idea comes into your head or a thought or a stress, that you just wish it away and turn the page. Like you'll hear phrases like that. And I think it felt like permission to think about the things that are popping up in your head, and also doing activities that have meditative qualities to them. So you guys have pets, like watching your pet breathe or watching your kids sleep or your pet sleep. These are like meditative activities, or
Right.
going for a walk, or identifying the things that kind of give you, like, I think for my husband, I keep thinking I keep wanting to refer to Matt and then just calling him husband because his name is also Matt. He likes preparing food and creating a meal. Like that is very meditative
Right.
activity for him. So when I think of meditation, I think it's being able to.
It's not the stereotype.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not the closing your eyes. See, I have
It could be.
that
could be part of it.
I took a meditation course. It was clairvoyant meditation, and
Clairvoyant.
and what you
So
got to
stupid.
do was, while you had your eyes closed, I would be sitting in these meditations for a very long time with my eyes closed, and I was fully awake. But I was creating images in my head of things that, it was all guided. So they would have you do certain activities while you had your eyes closed and while you were in the meditation. And I found that very helpful, instead of the just close your eyes and relax. And, because I have to be doing something, focusing on certain parts of my body or feeling some energies in different parts. What does that feel like? So that I'm able to focus on something. I really struggle with the breathing aspect of meditation. I don't love to focus on my breath. I know it's terrible, because that's like one of the biggest components of meditation, because I just find it so boring. It could be because I struggle to breathe throughout my nose. It's just not because I've got I've got a deviated septum, so it doesn't flow easily. So I just get annoyed when I have to breathe.
Right. Because you got to use your nose and mouth. I get that. And I also get how powerful it can be to slow everything down, to just kind of focus in on your breath. I like thirst for the stereotypical meditation idea, because my brain is always running. Like I'm always overthinking. I'm always the judge inside me is always damaging me in some way. And so I really would love to be able to find that deep quiet. But I'm so restless that I do get lost in the breathing too, and the concentration. But it makes me think of something bigger, which is the daydream. We talked about night dreams, or we talked about the daydream, which I think if you could be a professional daydreamer. I've done that my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When you were just talking about you always have your mind running, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you should lean into that.
Well, sometimes when I was in acting school, we named the voice inside ourselves that was critical of us, the judge. And so oftentimes my judge is the dominant voice in my head, and
well,
they
not
can
that
do
voice.
a lot of
Don't
yeah,
lean
they can
into
do a
that
lot of
one.
damage, and it's quieting that voice and opening up like my own, or as the tethered soul. Is
The
that's
Untethered
book?
Soul.
The Untethered Soul that we talked about. Where
Have you read it? Have you started reading it?
I have.
Okay,
yes.
good. Alex, have you heard of this book?
No, but I'll write it down.
You have to-
Untethered Soul.
Yes. By Michael
It
Singer.
comes into play.
It's so, yeah. It's
Well, he talks about the voice in your head not being you.
it's like your roommate.
Like what? Yeah, why are you listening to that voice when it's not really you?
Mhm.
And I had never thought about it that way. I always let the judge, who, like, I don't know why
See,
they get so much credit.
I think it is you. I don't think it's always right. I think it's like a suggestion. It's like a first draft. And I know that helps me as someone who's always been an anxious person. I have this sort of like natural homeostasis, like first reaction is like panic a little bit.
Right.
And then, but then being able to kind of assess, like, is that relevant or appropriate?
Yeah, you can always
the situation.
Yeah, you can.
Do I have like another?
Your higher self can take that person by the hand and say, "Hey, it's okay. Just slow down for a second. Let's talk this through. Let's take it easy." You know, I mean, I imagine that person, that thing kind of running around. It kind of runs around in my chest if I'm feeling like a certain way about something, and it's like a beehive, and it personified. So if I were to take that and go up to it and just kind of, you know, hold up my hands and just say, if my higher self does that and said it's going to be okay, then the hive kind of like quiets down and it stops buzzing so loudly and it just starts to function the way that it's supposed to. Or I'm a little bit more in tandem with my own wisdom.
It's making me think of Stranger Things, and like Claire's body is like I can't even remember all the terms.
That whole show is, I mean, the stuff that it taps in on is so profound. And yes, I mean, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but like sometimes my anxiety and like my sense of doom feels exactly like how the Upside Down is when, you know, you've got the main character in the first season who Will, and you know, he's like, he lives in the Upside Down for most of it. Like that is how I feel when I'm in like a going through something. It's very strange. It's almost like chemically that happens, and then within like 5 days it goes away, but it's like I'm living in this world.
5 days.
Yeah, it's terrible. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
No, there's nothing wrong with you. Just 5 days. It
stops around like 5:00 p.m. and then it starts when
you said that before.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy that like it has a clock to it.
It's very it has.
Are you a night person, Claire?
I'm
just like operating on the wrong schedule.
I don't know. I'm always up. I don't know. Lately,
you're in Europe time.
I can be awake at night. I can also be awake in the morning. It depends on what the activity is. If I have to wake up and meditate,
well, if you could design your own schedule,
I prefer to sleep longer in the morning and do more at night.
Just the way you were describing, even just like things cool down, get better.
Yeah, but I can't wake up. Yeah, but if I'm in a time of high anxiety in my life, I will wake up really early and I'll need to like start, you know, hitting the day or, you know, get up and do something. I can function perfectly fine in the morning too.
Yeah, I think you get
I
used to just being tired
so
all the
much.
time.
I always have deep sleep because I'm always dreaming, and if I don't get that sleep, forget it. I'm useless.
What were we going to say, Alex?
I was just going to say, I remember learning it's called chronotypes, whether you're a morning person or a night person or someone in between, and it's sort of like your eye color. It is an actual like genetic thing, and people are either more regulated more towards like morning or night, but I think the world like operates on a morning schedule. Just remember thinking that was really fascinating. I think if I was left to my own devices and could operate in the nighttime, I would.
Yeah.
But you know, where everyone else seems to operate in morning, so I want to be. I have FOMO. I want to be where the other people are.
And they say coffee tastes so good, and I just want to get up and enjoy the world. I definitely would be a night person, because I could sleep during the day better than I can ever sleep at night. That's just whatever is going on in me. I need to be in Europe on European time. But back to the idea of like, I envy the idea that your first draft, your judges or your voice's first draft, is then met with an editor who says, yes, that could be true, but this could also be true. I tend to get into the cycle of like, the judge speaks and I go, yeah, I'm fucking worthless. So you're right about that. And then it spirals even further, and I can't seem to shake how they're treating me. and thinking that I don't deserve it. And yet if someone spoke to my friends that way, I would have none of it. I would absolutely have none of it. So I'm kind of caught in that parallel.
Well,
and because of it,
not to make this a mat therapy session, but I have to say that like meditation for me definitely helped quiet the voices in my head so that I could make that distinction as to who's talking right now, like who's in control.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to do in the moments when it's really happening, where you have all that negative thought and that negative talk. But meditation actually really helped me be able to hear myself talking using words. Like saying, if I had to say something in my head, I could never hear it quietly, almost like a prayer. Like if you try to pray silently and you know what the words are and you're trying to say them in your head without saying them out loud. I always used to have to say things out loud, and now I don't have to. But and meditation definitely helps that. And it almost like it clicked. It was like a switch that flipped right off, or on or something. And
well, it's interesting. I definitely have that like desire to figure that out. And reading the Untethered Soul, just the idea of that voice, definitely, it doesn't necessarily have to be me, and I don't have to listen to it, even though I understood that. I understood the logic in that. It was hard to execute it in any way.
mm-hmm.
This made me think of, there's a book I read like years ago. It's called The Courage to be Disliked. And it's a conversation between like a philosopher and a student, but it takes these principles of like positive psychology and Adlerian psych. And I feel like you would like it. And building off of Claire saying, sitting, that like traditional sense of like sitting alone with your thoughts and thinking, meditating, like I don't do that. I do yoga, and I find that it's my form of meditation. Okay. And that helps me focus on my breath. A lot of that, just like doing the physical asanas and just trying to force myself to like do a rhythm of breathing that matches my movement, and trying to think of that and be present over and over again. I think theater is like that. It reminds me so much of like doing some of those exercises, like finding stillness, like forcing yourself to be present in a scene.
Yeah.
So I think you probably already have lots of meditative experiences.
I've said it on this podcast many times that me in the theater and me in real life are very, very different people. I definitely envy the version of me who lives in the theater, because I think it's such a pure version of who I am and my ability to do things that I don't think I have the ability to do in real life. And that's why it's so hard for me to give it up in my life at all. It just is the one place where I feel like so much of myself. But interesting though, yoga puts the focus on the physical, and so it has to take you out of your mind.
It's so interesting how these types of things that you guys do work for you in terms of that sort of meditation, because I find that I cannot actually be in a meditative state if I am exhibiting movement, like yoga. Like my there's a certain part of my mind that has to be on. Like I've never felt yoga to be very helpful in a meditative, relaxed way, because I'm always concerned about the next thing that my body has to do. And sometimes I find yoga to be a little physically exerting, depending on the kind that I do. And I look at it as like a workout regime instead of something that's relaxing to my body.
Right.
Oh yeah, if it's a hot yoga class, when they make them like 110 degrees, I'm just trying to stay alive. It's not meditative. That's torturous.
Survival.
I'm being tested to see if I will blow up and freak out.
And when I'm doing theater, I feel like I love performing because I like the feeling I get after I do it, because it also makes me feel like I've done something productive with my life and with my space. But when I'm on stage and I'm in a scene and I'm in the moment, like I have to stay fully conscious and fully connected, because I'm afraid that I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle if something goes wrong. You know, I'm not that kind of person that, like I have to always be connected with myself.
So you can handle disaster, so you can avert
Except,
disaster.
yeah,
if it
except
happens.
I also kind of can't. Like, I just know that if I,
No.
when I forget lines on stage, it's never pretty. It's never cute. I can never really fully recover.
It made me think of Alex got very, very mad at me one time. We were doing The Taming of the Shrew, and we were doing outdoor Shakespeare. And when you do outdoor Shakespeare, it can rain, and so you have to change the venue and stuff like that. And for me, it was very clear that the production we were placing outside couldn't live inside. So what could we do? Well, let's set it in the round so that the people who are in the theater get a totally different experience that is, and it wasn't a theater, it was a room, that is specific to them. And you didn't like that idea very much at the beginning, because it's not what we rehearsed. You know, how did you feel afterwards? I feel like I remember it.
I tell this story over and over again, Matt. It's so funny because that was really hard for me to. I do think of myself as flexible now.
Yeah.
And that is a story that I tell over and over where I had to pivot. I had to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable. I had a lot of fear about everything that we rehearsed needed to be completely different. And I cared so much about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I cared that the blocking should look different. When you're with a scene partner, the way that you look, like for other people, I noticed that they didn't care. And they also just did the same blocking.
Right.
And then they cared less. Yeah. I wanted to be able to make the changes and do it in the way that you would do it the round properly. I think that's, I have high expectations for myself always. And for the type of projects that I work on, I think I've learned I have to be careful with how the kind of pressure that I put on myself and making sure that I don't put that type of pressure on other people, like stress them out, like on teams. Right. Like, how can I hold those standards to myself in a way that isn't going to create stress for other people? Maybe I have internal stress that I can like work through that. But I think that was, I also use, I think the stories that I was telling to Blair in the podcast episode, I told you I have a work podcast, and we talked about, you would ask me to do a scene in a way that I know that the character would never do that. Is not their intention. We're definitely not going to perform it that way. Just like to see what happened, and maybe there's like a little something that you'd pick up, or like discovery.
Yep.
And like, I learned so much from you. It's funny. Those are things that like I would do it, but I would fight you first and like want to understand why. I didn't understand like the value.
Yeah.
So I was learning in real time, out loud, very visibly, very disgruntled. But they were good lessons. And I think about them all the time, and how can I transfer that in when I'm experiencing challenge in another context in my life.
Well, I felt awful, but I also felt like I just had so much faith in you that I wanted you to take that leap of faith. But I did. That was probably the worst I've ever felt. Usually when it comes, because you weren't a student at that point, but usually with students, I'll be like, yeah, you got to take that leap of faith. You got to go.
I was 23.
Yeah.
Still
and
a
you did
baby.
Great. But you did great. You did great. But very, very vivid in my mind of like making this choice is really going to upset Alex. And hopefully by the end, it will feel so much better. And then when we go back outside, it will feel new again too, because you'll have discovered it in a different way. But I was a big proponent on like, we're not going to do this in for performance, but like, what if there's one moment? Because I just think discovery's got to be at the tip of creation. And as an actor, I think I try to do that too. I would never be able to do a run on Broadway where I had to do the same thing 8 times a week. I just not good at that at all. I'm constantly annoying my fellow actors by doing new stuff, because I feel like I'm always in the mode of discovering. And hopefully I don't sacrifice anything because of it, but anyways.
I think definitely working on so many shows with you as a director, I feel very comfortable being on the fly, like something that's improv or not planned, or needing to change the moment, like fill time, especially like in a work setting. I don't get to perform as much anymore, but work is all performance.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad I could have a little to do with that. I mean, your talent was easily, once you could have figured that out, there wasn't much that you weren't going to be able to do.
I don't even think it's that I've still figured it out. I think it's like a regular practice. You have to continue practicing it. It's just like a muscle that you.
But you know what it is? It's once you give yourself that experience one time, what you've done is you've proven to yourself like, oh, I'm capable of this. I may not know how to do it the next time, but I do know that last time I didn't think I could do it. And I did. It's embracing your oh no's. That's what we used to call it in school. The oh no, the oh no, aha, ta-da progression of creativity. We have disappeared from dreams.
Yeah, I was going to try to think of a way to segue back to
well, it's
daydreams or mind wandering or what.
Well,
where we were before we took a detour.
Well, we didn't talk about any cliches. We didn't talk about any myths. We just had a grand discussion about dreams and things that we've kind of experienced. And I think that's exactly what this podcast is. It kind of goes and we follow it where it goes. One of the most interesting things in the whole topic, and I don't know if I have ever pinpointed it like this, was the idea of those who have passed revisiting us in our dreams. Mm-hmm. I waited for a long time to have a dream about my father after he passed. And I wanted some Hamlet moment where he came and gave me some really important information. And that's never happened. But now when he is in my dream, I do feel a deeper appreciation than I think I ever have before. I think I'm aware of enjoy this time together. And that's a really nice thing to wake up to. I mean, yeah, you wake up a little sad, but you're also like, I had a little moment. I had a little extra time. And that's really, really nice.
I have dreams sometimes that my grandparents have come back after dying. And it's like, oh, I thought you died. And they're like, no.
That's exactly what I was going to ask when Matt was talking about his dreams with his dad. If has he passed and it's your surprise to see him?
I think always at the beginning. I don't know that I say it out loud, but I think there's always of like, oh, he's here. Why is he here? Why is he here? And I may not fully understand it, but I know that there's something special. And thank God he's never come back to me as a zombie. I've never experienced a dad zombie dream, because that would really probably mess me up a lot.
Well, I think that when we do get visited in our dreams by those who have passed, it is, I mean, if we're going with the idea that it's our subconscious trying to tell us something, I think it's that we do know as humans that that we're okay, that we're going to be okay, because our we're a species that is afraid. We're afraid to die, most of us.
Yeah.
And we fear death and we're obsessed with it. Hence this podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
And when but there is, and what we really don't know is we don't know what life is like after death. I mean, what death is like after life. Because we haven't had that. I mean, it's not life. It's a completely, I mean, they could be making podcasts in death right now about what it was like when they were living, I mean, we just have no idea.
And no access to
and
those
no
podcasts.
Access, except maybe through dreams. I don't know. I mean, I think that if as a species, like, we are actively afraid of dying, but in our dreams, that is probably the closest we are to being at peace with the fact that we are sentient beings. And
Wow.
I mean, that's just my take on it, that, I think that I don't really know if I agree with the, we're all here for a reason. I really like to think of that sometimes, especially when I'm going through a time of pain and I can't make sense of something. And I'm like, okay, there's a greater purpose to this, and I will know what that is eventually. But, if I think about, what I know about those that have passed, I do believe that they are at peace. And I do believe that when we die, that our, this thing that is our subconscious and this thing that is our mind, does that go when we die? Our physical bodies die, but then what happens? What do our energies get recycled? Do our spirits go somewhere else? Are they in a different multiverse?
And it's certainly not if any of that is true, it's not something that, I don't want to say consciously, but it's something that our understanding of life could never understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond our capability of understanding it based upon our human
but
existence.
Maybe our subconscious does understand it, which is why we see dead people.
Yeah, maybe.
And when they come, we should pay attention to what is happening when we see them. That's what I think. That's how because I like to look at those experiences in my dreams as things to learn from.
Well, I think that's a beautiful place to wrap this up. That's a really kind of beautiful thought. Thank you for sharing it with us. Alex, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're going to come back.
Chat with you.
This
Please.
was so nice. She's so smart, casual intelligence. How about real tangible intelligence? She brought a lot of really great stuff tonight.
Nice. And we get to see each other here over it's not a Zoom, but you could call it a Zoom. You guys are only going to get to hear the voice, but we got to enjoy seeing each other's faces.
Can I share with you guys before we wrap up?
Sure.
So Matt was playing a little dreams playlist to get me in the mood before we
Your husband, Matt?
record. Yeah, my husband, Matt.
Nice.
So these are the songs he played: In Dreams by Roy Orbison.
Okay.
Dream On, Aerosmith. River of Dreams by Billy Joel. And then Sweet Dreams. Who sings that?
The Eurythmics?
Yeah, Rhythmics. Yes.
Rhythmics. Nice. That's very cool.
That's it.
Let's add to that. Let's add to that playlist.
Well, when Alex and I first did A Midsummer Night's Dream, and the last one I did with Claire, they were both musicals. They were both musicals. The one with Claire was based on the music of Queen, but Alex's was a jukebox musical, and we had a lot of fun. And I switched Alex's song out the week we were performing. It just didn't make sense. And you had a totally new song that you had to learn.
You were always doing things like, let's change it. We're going live tomorrow, but see, it's good practice for me.
I apologize. But yeah, when she sang Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood. Yeah, killed it. Absolutely killed it. So I
think I do it differently now. Less angry. More fun.
I'd love to see that.
But I was like all anger, and that was the only emotion that came through. It was a little intense.
You ended with hurt. There was heartbreak. There was real heartbreak. So anyways, till we speak next time.
Okay.
Bye. So what did we learn? I think we learned that you should download The Accidental Trainer and listen to Alex's podcast. We also learned that dreams can just be dreams, and dreams can also inspire us. They can just be movies in our heads and mean nothing, and they can also uncover something that we weren't thinking about in our conscious life. Either way, it's all about what you make of them. Thank you for listening to the Last Will podcast. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell a friend and tell a friend's friend. and tell that friend to tell other friends. Very soon, the Last Will Podcast Patreon page will be up, where you can support the show and get special features sent right to your door, except not to your door. It'll probably be your email. Till next time, onward, forward.